not long after, very soon after the Manchester bombings, Linda, two girls got in touch with, well, one girl, there were two sisters, and one of the sisters got in touch with Linda and said, we've both been involved in the Manchester bombings, we're both injured, I'm okay, but my sister's very, very sick, and it's not looking good for her, and she's a big fan of yours, and will you get in touch? So anyway, so Linda did, and it was all very, very sad, you know, as everything was during that time. And she's 21, this girl, and you just think... And Linda, of course, who's going through her own second cancer battle and is very, very vulnerable. I guess, in a way, for Linda, it was a kind of reality check of, for whatever I'm going through, there's a 21-year-old girl dying here. And she befriended her, basically. She spoke to her every day. She sent flowers to the hospital, she sent chocolates to the hospital, and it was going on and on and on. And she actually said to me, it would really, really, really make the day if you and the girls at Loose Women would say a hello to Mia and Emily. Yeah. And we did.
We did. We've got a little clip of that, actually.
There's two young ladies who were affected by the Manchester bombing who are still in hospital, extremely ill, two sisters. That's Mia and Emily. And they got in touch with my sister Linda, actually, to say that they're fans of Loose Women, and they watch us every day, and it gets them through.
Mia and Emily.
Hello, Mia and Emily. So we'd like to say hello and get well soon. So, it was all very emotional. And
done in good faith.
And done in good faith. And then just last week, really, or, just longer than last week, Linda had agreed to go and visit Emily, because she hadn't visited yet. When I say spoken to her, hours on the phone, Linda had shared her whole life with her, like I said, sent her gifts. And then she said, one of Emily's friends got in touch and said, look, it's not looking good, and we don't think she's going to make it. So Linda agreed to go and see her. Yeah. And what happened, she got the phone call. She was meant to go and see her the next day. She got the phone call that night to say Emily had passed away. Linda cried all night. She'd really formed a bond with this girl. But then realised, actually, it hasn't been mentioned, because surely that's another victim then of the Manchester bombings, and they tend to mention that, don't they, in the papers. We were all a little bit suspicious, but Linda totally believed in it. And we since found out she then tried to get in touch, and all the social media sites, they'd come off all social media sites. The phone numbers were fake. She got in touch with the hospital. They'd never heard of this girl.
So she'd been speaking to someone she thought was the girl's sister all this time?
The girl and the sister.
And the sister.
And the sister. So she was speaking to the girl that eventually died. She's the one that she bonded with, not Mia. She bonded with Emily, and Emily was telling her all these... oh, tomorrow I've got to go down, and they're doing this to my heart, and they're sorting, I might have to have my leg amputated.
Oh, my God, Coleen.
Really, and Linda really, really fell for it, as we all did. And then I felt so sorry for her when she died, because Linda was just devastated.
Of course.
And then, of course,
and also, with
everything
Linda's going through herself, it's like a form of emotional abuse.
Well, it is.
To do this.
And she got in touch with the police.
Yeah.
And the police said that they just couldn't act on it, because actually no crime had been committed.
What? Even robbing her of her own emotion and taking from her so much?
No, it's not considered a crime. They hadn't threatened her, they hadn't asked for money, but we think that was going to be the next step.
It has to be money or...
But why?
Yeah. Well, I suppose because in law, emotions are a nebulous thing. So if you set in law that you've emotionally abused somebody by pretending to be someone you're not, then you could almost extend it to if you stand at the altar and say for better, for worse, and then you leave your husband or your wife, they could say, well, you've emotionally abused me, I'm going to prosecute you.
But that's so different.
It's like, where's the cut-off
to
point?
Creating a whole alias and pretending to be somebody, and surely that's fraud, pretending to be someone else.
You know what upset me the most? If this had just happened generally, it would have been upsetting. It was the fact that it was off the back of the Manchester bombings and those true victims of that, and the tragedy of that. The only thing that I've got my head around now is you're talking about prosecuting. Now I think to me, that's somebody who has serious,
They have
I
issues
think,
themselves,
mental
for
health
sure.
issues
For sure.
that want that attention.
I do think it should be illegal, though, because I feel like, especially with the internet now, we make it so easy for people to just go online and pretend to be anybody.
Yeah, the
that should be a crime
really
in itself.
fueled it. Yeah.
I mean, if you're not creating a profile that isn't you and only you, then you shouldn't be allowed to create
surely
that
that is
profile.
fraud. It's fraud, isn't it?
It's
Well,
just
it's a
insane.
form of fraud, but if you rationalise it and you think, have the police got time to... What would happen is they'd go to, this house and then they'd say, right, we're going to prosecute you for this. There would be psychiatric reports. They would say she's in need of... It wouldn't go anywhere. The police resources would have been used up.
But then can't Apple and all of these forums, get cracked down and say, well, you can't be on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram. Sorry, you just can't.
Yeah, but they do fake identities.
Yeah,
so actually
they do.
you don't even know that. But it's like a form of... It's like Munchausen's by internet now, isn't it?
Yeah, that's exactly
But
it.
what the police and everybody else and the experts would say to all of us, do not enter into online relationships with people that you don't... enter with caution.
But it's very difficult, isn't it? If somebody gets in touch with you and is reaching out.
Especially after something as atrocious as a Manchester bombing, where everybody was feeling not only horrified but what had happened, but what can I do to help?
Yeah.
So somebody
So
who's
to ignore
directly
them, you'd
linked
think,
to it
oh.
reaches out to you.
And also you
Of course
think,
you would.
why would anyone do that? It wouldn't
Yeah,
even cross your
wouldn't.
mind.
Do you know,
would
it's
it?
not just fraud, they're emotional parasites.
They are.
That's what they are.